All right, today we're going to talk about writing equations of lines. So when you're writing an equation of a line, if you're given the slope and y-intercept, this one's pretty easy. We know our equations y equals mx plus b. That's called slope-intercept form. M is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So all you got to do is just substitute in the values, and x and y are any ordered pair that's on the line. So the only thing we're plugging in is your m and your b. So 4 is multiplied by x, so your slope is always multiplied by x, and then b is always going to be a constant, so that's after. So here, I've got 1/2 is your slope, I've got -2 is your b, and then we just go with y and x. So remember, your slope is always multiplied by x. I want you to try these. This one is a little tricky, but you can do that, so go ahead and finish those. All right, so now if it has a slope of 0, it's horizontal. So your equation is y equals 0x plus b, or that's just going to be y plus b. So remember, we talked about HOI, horizontal, 0 slope, y equals a number. So in this case, if you were to write a horizontal line passing through 2, 3, all you got to do is just look at the y value, which is y equals 3. Now, if it's an undefined slope, so remember, undefined goes this way. It's vertical, so it's x equals a number. So that's your VUX. So vertical, undefined, x equals a number. So if we want to write a vertical line passing through that point, you're going to look at your x value, and your equation is x equals 2. All right, now, if you're given a slope in one point, so y equals mx plus b, I did some color coding for you guys. M is the slope. X and y are any point on the line. All you got to do is substitute those in and solve for b. Oops. Had a little avalanche there. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead. I labeled all my points. I know this is my x. I know this is my y. I know that my slope is m. So now I'm just going to plug them into my equation. So 7 times x. We don't know what b is, so that's what we're solving for. And we know it's going to equal y. And then just go ahead. We're going to go 4 equals 21 plus b. And now we're solving for b. So move the 21 over. And I've got -17 equals b. So now I know my slope. Check. I know my b, which is -17, so you substitute those into your equation. All right, and one of the things I wrote on here is how I think about it is you write the formula y equals mx plus b. Substitute in what you know. So in this case, we know m, x, and y, and solve for whatever you don't. All right, so let's do that here. So let's label. So I know this is m, I know this is x, I know this is y. So I'm going to start substituting in all the values I know. Remember, you're multiplying. We do not know what our y-intercept is, so we're solving for b. That's what we want. So go ahead and multiply, -2. And then we want to add 2 to move it to the other side. So we get 5 equals b. All right, we know our slope, we know our y-intercept, so now we can put it together in an equation. Now, if you were given 2 points, you have to find slope first. Now, however you choose to use it, you can do the formula, you can make a table. I think I did a table down here, so you can do formula or whatever. Then once you find the slope, then you can use the slope and any point to find the new equation. All right, so this is just an extra step from before. So I kind of gave you instructions of what I did here. So first we're going to find the slope. So I like to label my points, and then I'm going to plug it into my y minus, because you're finding the change, over, now since I started with this one, I have to start with 2, minus that, which is 1. So if you did this correctly, you should have gotten 2 over 1, which is 2. Now we know what our slope is. So now we can sub in any ordered pair. It doesn't matter if you do this ordered pair or that one. I'm going to pick this one because that's a little bit easier. But it doesn't matter because we should have the same. So I'm going to sub in 1 here. I'm going to sub in the 2 from my slope. I'm going to sub in this 1 here. We do not know y-intercept, so that's what we're looking for. And now 1 equals 2 plus b. Subtract the 2, and you get negative 1 equals b. So now we have our slope, we have our y-intercept. Plug them in to make your equation. All right, you're going to try that one. And then I'm just going to show you a slightly different way. I don't care if you use the formula or if you like to use a table to find the distance between. Either works. But it says write an equation of the line passing through the origin. Well, remember, your origin is 0, 0, and 4, 2. So first, we need to find our slope. So I just did an XY table. Ooh, excuse me. So I set up my ordered pairs here. Now, to get from 0 to 2, I'm increasing by 2, and that's your numerator, or for your numerator for your y. And then for your x, I'm increasing by 4. That's your denominator for your x. I make it a fraction, and 2/4 simplifies to 1/2. So now we have our slope. Now that we have our slope, you can pick either ordered pair. You can do that one or that one. I'm going to pick this one because this is easier. So x goes here, y goes here, slope goes there. Put it all together to solve for b. Well, b is going to equal 0. So now we have our slope, we have our b. You can write it as this, but we usually don't write it like that. We usually write it like this, but this means the same thing. Okay? Now, I want you to go through, and I want you to do this next one, but I am going to give you a hint. If you're to have your x-intercept, remember, y is 0, and your y-intercept, your x is 0. So I made ordered pairs for you. So go ahead, and I want you to finish that one. All right, for linear models, when you're doing this, you want to write the equation for each linear model in slope-intercept form and answer the question. So if you rent a bike for $20 plus 2 per hour, so this means you're multiplying, right? So you're going to multiply. So your equation, where did I get the 20 from? Where's my 2? I lost a 2 somewhere. Okay, well, we shall find it. All right, so it's 2 per hour. All right, so when you solve this, so rate B, and then we want to know how much does it cost to rent a bike for 5 hours. Well, in this case, hours we said was blue, which is your X, because it's cost per hour. So when you see the cost per hour, Y per X up here, so cost per hour. So make sure this usually tells you what your Y is, and this will tell you your X. So now I know for hours we're going to put in for X into our equation. And then you're going to get $30 to rent a bike for 5 hours. All right. This one I want you to go ahead and do. However, I'm going to give you a hint. If it burns, that means you're going to have -2 per hour, or -2x. So if you did this one correctly, you should have -2x plus 12. All right, and then you're going to do that part. If it burns completely down, isn't the height 0? So that's a hint. Try that. All right, this one looks a little crazy, but it's got one little trick to it. In 1998, ticket prices were $8.50, so all this information is related. In 2003, ticket prices were $16. So again, This is related to that, it's a relation. So we're going to write an equation to solve, but we want to let 1998 be year 0. So we are starting at 1998. They said instead of 1998, we want you to write 0. So you're going to change 1998 to 0, and you're going to have that go with 850. Well, remember, we're not going to write 2003. We want to know how many years since 1998. So 2003 is 5 years since 1998. So now we're actually going to use these to find slope, change of y's over change of x. And if you did this correctly, you should have gotten a slope of 1.5. So that would have been cost per year. All right, now I've got a slope. Now we need to find our y-intercept. So our y-intercept's super easy. We don't even have to plug it in just because we know we started. So we could do that and know that when x is 0, that's your y-intercept. If you didn't realize that, set up your equation and solve it. Okay, so your equation for this is 1.5x plus 850. So we want to know in what year is it predicted the ticket will cost $14.50. Well, we said that cost up here was going to be your y. So this is your y, so we're going to plug that into where your y variable is, and we're solving for x. So subtract 850 from both sides, that cancels out, and you're going to have 6 equals 1.5x. Divide both sides by 1.5, and you get x equals 4. So that's not your final answer, though. We want to know in what year. So you have to take your 0 plus 4. Well, we said our 0 was 1998. Now we need 1998. So 1998 plus 4 is 2002. All right. I got this one set up for you because there is a trick. Mark opened, so he started, this is your starting part, a savings account with $500. So that's where my ordered pair, 0 and 500, came in. In 7 months, he had $1,200. So again, this information is related, so I made it out of an ordered pair. So if you did this correctly, your slope should be 100. I did the table. You could do the formula also. And I don't even have to solve for b because look at x. Isn't when you started? That's when x is 0. So didn't we start with 500? So b is 500. So this is my equation. Now, I do want to mention, here we want to know how much in 6 years. But here we talked months. So you have to convert to the same unit. So remember, if you were to take 6 years times 12 months, you'll get 72 months. So that's why I put 72 there instead of 6. So just watch out for that. All right. I want you to try this one, and I want you to try this one. So remember, think of information that's related and set up ordered pairs if you need to. And that is writing equations of lines.